Yeah, so apart from channel, one of the big things I think is action paths. Essentially how that works is it measures the behavior a user takes and then sends them down an appropriate path. So when I was at ClipChamp, there was the video editor with Microsoft. We built this onboarding flow that used action paths tied to actions they were doing inside the editors. We only held them for 6 minutes because this is how long we realized it would take people to come in the app, push a few buttons and get around. Then we ranked actions based on exports, video, ads, footage, what we deemed to be the most important actions and what we deemed to be the least important, and we ranked them. And people went in and they did a bunch of actions, and depending on what they picked, they would actually move around in this ranking. Everyone was essentially getting an email personalized to them about the 2 things or the 4 things or whatever that they didn't do in that 6-minute window, and it based on ranking. We saw what they did do and sent them an email about what they didn't do, and that became the onboarding campaign.
Our guest today is someone who lives and breathes Braze. David is a MarTech and a CLM manager at Mangrove Digital and formerly lifecycle marketing manager at Microsoft ClipChamp. He is a Braze-certified both developer and practitioner and has been named as a Braze Community Leader of the Year and also been a 2-time Torchy Award nominee. David has built standout campaigns in Braze, from gamified to playable email adventure to triggered product-driven lifecycle journeys. And he has trained teams how to scale personalization and connect across multiple tech stacks and stay creative without losing the performance, which is a critical part. His content has reached thousands of people across LinkedIn, YouTube, and obviously the Braze Bonfire community. As per his former colleague, what it puts it best is he is always tinkering and making content that resonates speaking people as people, right? So great to have you here, David. If there is any team who feel stuck in rigid journeys or overwhelmed by liquid scripting or unsure how to get more out of Braze, this session is for you. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Chintan. That's it's quite the intro, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm actually that guy. I'm that guy who likes making content because I enjoy it as much as I like teaching other people. So like, it's actually a real pleasure when I hear that people are actually getting value out of that. So thank you. Love the intro.
Okay, that's really great of you. So before we go ahead, right, and there are a set of questions we'll cover here, but the core of it is the personalization, right? So let's talk about the personalization. Uh, if you see the overall structure of Braze, right, and there are many teams who are leveraging Braze because Braze has been capturing the market quite well, right, in recent times. Most teams love the idea of personalization in Braze, and until they hit Liquid, because Liquid is a complex scripting, right? It's not that easy to manage. And when they start to identify that okay, it's difficult to manage Liquid, everything slows down or gets pushed to one person, right, who is the expert. You build campaigns with liquid scripting across Microsoft and MyDNA and even taught others through Livestream. What's your framework for scaling personalization in Braze so it doesn't overwhelm a single teammate?
Sure. Yeah. So Liquid's a really interesting one because I think a lot of people look at Liquid and kind of go, oh, it's a coding language. Oh, I don't want to touch that. And as marketers, you can kind of see people step back from that very quickly because they think they're getting into sort of, I guess, engineering territory. So I think one of the first steps to scaling out, say, Liquid within a company is actually helping the marketers understand that not only is it a tool that's valuable now, but it's going to be a tool that's going to be valuable for them even in the future, no matter where they go. Because the one thing about learning Liquid, it uses all the things like the for loops and the if statements and the variables, which they're part of any coding language. They're part of anything moving. They're part of a systems thinking. So I kind of approach it from like, don't think of this as I have to learn a scary language and, I don't want to touch it. I kind of teach it as marketers, if you learn this will help you talk to the engineers. Or if you learn this will help you think the way that your engineering team is thinking, or this will just help you think about how computer processes work. So I think it's making Liquid look more than just about personalization. It's actually broadening it out to like, it's a thinking process. It actually teaches people to think in logic. In saying that though, sometimes it is hard to scale out that coding side because as marketers, a lot of marketers just kind of want to step back. But I also think the future is moving towards MarTech and technical marketing and these sorts of things. So I think something like Liquid and a foundation in that, even just understanding it, is, I guess, securing your future a little bit in this field as much as anything else. Because we're kind of at that point now where AI might be able to start writing copy and doing a little bit of branding and whatnot. But if you have that technical mindset, you can always sort of be a step ahead of where the technology is up to as well. So I do think there's an advantage to understanding that. So it's kind of, I think it's more about talking about those things with your team to help them understand that it's bigger than just making personalization. This is actually good for you as a person to understand how Liquid works. There's more to it. I will say though, if people are really resistant, which understandably sometimes are, Braze now has their AI Liquid Assistant, which is a great way to scale it out to people who are a little more hesitant about the code. They can type stuff in there in natural language. It will spit out Liquid. Naturally, you have to test that. Always test anything AI spits out, but that's a great tool for scaling it out to people who just want to use it really quickly. Or you'll actually get good results out of most AI engines now, like ChatGPT. I'm a big fan of Claude. I use Claude a lot. They'll also give you good Liquid, which is sort of a quick and easy way for people to get, a quick win if they don't want to learn the language. So
Yep. So that was my next point, right? Before we move forward to the next question, Braze has already launched an AI scripting mechanism, right? Where any marketer who doesn't know the technicality, right, of the scripting can just give some scenarios and prompts, and Braze helps. The Braze AI assistant helps in building the script, which you can just directly place it into the email, SMS, push, wherever you want to add, and then definitely you need to test it. What is your take on that, right? Because there are marketers who are seeing as a life-saving situation because they are hardly into scripting, right? And when they get such opportunity to leverage Braze AI scripting, they would always be curious to try it out, curious to experiment. Let's say building a countdown timer. Now that's difficult, right, for them to do it via scripting. If that could be done with the help of Braze AI assistant, that's an ease for them. What is your take on leveraging Braze AI scripting tool for building Liquid scripting?
yeah, I'm actually a fan of AI from the side of everyone should have access to be able to do the things that are in their head and try and get them out into the world. I kind of feel like it's good for that, sort of evening the playing field a little bit. But I also think that everyone should go one layer deeper. I know Scott Hanselman, he works at Microsoft. He always talks about going one layer of abstraction deeper. So you might use the AI to build the tool, but it's worth going a layer deeper and just getting a bit of understanding of how it's working. So more so when it breaks, you know how to fix it. Like you can sit there all day asking AI to try and fix the problem. What's the problem? What's the problem? And it might find a solution, but if you kind of go one layer deeper and just at least understand how it's working, I think that's where the real power comes in, because you can ask AI to do lots of things and have no idea what it's doing, but when it breaks or when it doesn't work or when something goes wrong, it's just having that logic process. So I'm not anti-AI, but I really do see it as like a support, not necessarily replacing learning as a whole, so that's where I see it fits into things. But yeah, by all means, people should go play with the AI tool for sure. Like, I mean, you can't break anything, so you might as well go play around with it. Like, I mean, the worst case, you send out a campaign to 3,000 people with some bad Liquid. So, I'm not encouraging that.
Yeah, unless they do the actual testing in a better way, definitely there is a possibility.
yeah, test in
Yeah.
production.
No, definitely makes sense. When we are talking about Braze AI, Liquid scripting, let's say Liquid scripting and AI assistant, right? One thing which you also would love to discuss about is the overall campaigns in Braze, right? A lot of emails look and feel the same, right? Over the time, right? When you don't refresh the template, they are robotic, easy to ignore. And one of your standout was Braze email. You turned into a playable text adventure, a game, right? Would love to understand that what was the objective or why did you do that? And for someone who wants to bring creativity or wants to revamp their one of the campaign, right? Moving out of that static design, static templatized structure. Someone who wants to bring creativity back to lifecycle. What's one way to start without over-engineering it, right? Not so go towards the more coding side, but what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so so that campaign you're talking about, I'm actually currently building that. I live stream on Wednesdays, it's Australian time, but like I'm currently in the process of trying to build that out, that text adventure out. So I've kind of got that running, and I'm looking at actually building a fighting engine and everything in there, and actually build a proper game. That's my end goal. But it's totally usable. There's no reason why someone can use it. But where these ideas come from is I kind of feel like sometimes in marketing we've lost this kind of sense of play, like where everything's about ROI and KPIs, and they're really important. Like revenue is important, but like as marketers, we should still have a bit of. I mean, we probably got into it because we were creative, and part of creativity is just play, like just enjoying that. So I would imagine a lot of marketers have these sort of little fun ideas rattling around in their head that just think, oh, well, that'll never work. Oh, I'm not allowed to do that. But I would encourage people to try those things. So part of this text adventure came out of I like text adventures. I grew up through the, PC beginning era, but also getting inbox placement these days is really hard, especially in Gmail. So if it's really hard to get into the inbox tab and not land at the promotions tab. And there's a lot of push now of moving away from a lot of images and links and going to sort of these a bit more text heavy emails to try and land yourself in this Gmail box, because anything that looks too markety, you'll chuck in the promotions. So this way, if you're doing a text adventure, it's intentionally meant to be quite text heavy. So that's a win. It might land you in the inbox, but you've still provided something fun for people on the other end. It's still actually got that sort of idea of play in there. And people might want to keep pushing the button and encouraging the click through. So it's kind of a mix of those things, because I think that fight for inbox space is a big one at the moment. So I guess this is probably a reverse challenge. Instead of thinking what's the greatest thing I could do, think about how can I simplify my email the most and try and get in that inbox. That'd be a real challenge for marketers to think on these days. What's the least I could do and have a great email? So yeah, I think we're kind of hit that space now.
Yep. So yeah, now it's all about being visible in the inbox, right? Because everyone is in the inbox, whether it is promotion tab or main inbox, right? But now the game is about moving from promotion to the actual inbox, where the user or the subscriber can get an actual attention, right? Because now hardly people are going towards the promotional tab and reviewing emails, right? Unless they want to clean up their inbox, right? That's the last thing. But you hardly get that visibility if you don't move your emails into the primary inbox. Now, when we are talking about inbox placement,
it's only going to get worse from here on in. I mean, with Gmail and Apple, I mean, and rightly so, they're putting in a lot of privacy to protect their users. But if you're doing email, especially, that kind of is always going to reduce our ability to send anything. So we need to be creative to, I guess, work around that without, we don't want to break privacy. We just want to work around that in the best way we can for the users. So.
Yep. No, totally. When we are talking about inbox placement and ways to make sure that your emails land into primary inbox, it's always important to discuss about the overall lifecycle strategy, right, inside Braze on what could be done better. So one of the biggest gap I see is between data and the lifecycle communications. Journeys often have little connection to how users actually behave or interact with your comms, right? At MyDNA, you tied Braze messaging directly to your product usage, right, in terms of how the subscribers are engaging with your product. What are some signals or triggers you think more teams should be using in Braze, and how do you structure those?
So you mean related to like product signals or anything?
Yeah. If I'm a lifecycle marketer who's managing Braze, right, how should I connect my comms, right, to make sure that those comms are making some impact, right? It should be product usage, it should be website, whatever it is. But what should be the triggers or signals which will help me, right, while using Braze? And how can I structure and connect those pointers?
Yeah, great. Yeah, no, it's a good question. So if someone has the ability to have, say, something like Amplitude as a tool, like I'm actually quite a fan of something like Amplitude, because it's actually pulling in behavioral data of how a user is using an app almost like in real time, and then being able to pipe your Braze data into Amplitude as well and look at the two together. I'm actually quite a fan of that process, because I personally like to move very quick. I don't spend a lot of time just trawling through data for the tiny little win. I like to see what's the user doing in the app, how's that relating to the message we're sending, can we tie the two together? And then it allows you to then go away, pivot, start a new experiment, off you go again. So I'm quite a fan of these sort of platforms that show you behavioral data in real time and pump your Braze data in there. You can pump it through currents straight into there. The other thing you can do is then pass certain events out, events that are happening in the app, pass them back into Braze. So you can use these behavioral triggers then to be communicating with Braze. Now, in the use case where like someone might not have access to tool, because some people like to use Braze as their sort of central engine for a lot of things now, sort of like a composable marketing engine, which is kind of a new way it's coming. I think some of the big triggers now would be, it's a tough one. Opens are kind of dead in email, so we're kind of down to the world of clicks. but in saying that, though, I think the other big ones, as always, are things like your spam rates, people clicking on your message rates, opening of content cards, all those things. Like I think you need to be looking at all your standard measures, but instead of looking at them as like, I got 2% clicks on this email, look at the trend that is happening, because we've got bots opening emails now, we've got bots opening messages, there's all sorts of things happening. Instead of looking at the percentage, actually look at the trend over time of whether you're sort of getting this increased rate, and then you can sort of account for these bot clicks or bot opens or whatever else is happening. And also just finding people in the right channel. Like if we know that bots are opening emails, well, maybe email is not the channel anymore. Maybe we start using things like push messages and in-app messages and trying to catch people where they're at the right time. So I think that's the other thing when it comes to behavior, is actually looking for the right channel. I think that made sense in the end.
Yep. No, that was really great advice, that connecting Amplitude with Braze and then passing those events, which are getting dragged into Amplitude, is definitely going to get some signal to the marketers on what is the success of their overall lifecycle comms and journeys. We've also been facing and experiencing that. So similar to Amplitude, there is Mixpanel, who leverages, again, similar type of events, right? And in which you can pass it back through currents, right, to Braze, which can be leveraged by marketers to see what is the progress or outcome of their journeys. When we are talking about journeys, David, most Braze journeys are predictable and linear, right? Because there's hardly any innovation in that part, right? More like a flowchart than a real user experience, which is based on behavior, right? You have built a non-linear paths, game-like logic, and adaptive campaigns, right? What's one way marketers can make their journeys more adaptive to what actually users want to do?
So apart from channel, one of the big things I think, I don't actually see people using as much in Braze yet as they should be, is action paths. So action paths are something that's been in Braze for a little while now. And essentially how that works is it measures the behavior a user takes and then sends them down an appropriate path. So for instance, when I made the text adventure, I could work out what button they clicked in the email and use an action path to send them down the next path. But where it can get really cool is, so you can rank action paths and you can hold people in that step for a period of time. So when I was at Clipchamp, there was the video editor with Microsoft, so it was video editing software. We built this onboarding flow that used action paths tied to actions they were doing inside the editor. So they'd move into the action path, we'd hold them in there. We only held them for 6 minutes because this is how long we realized it would take people to come in the app, push a few buttons and get around. We hold them in this action path and we ranked actions based on, exports, video, ads, footage, what we deem to be the most important actions and what we deem to be the least important. And we ranked them, and people went in and they did a bunch of actions, and depending on what they picked, they would actually move around in this ranking. And once it was done, it would drop them out into an email, and it would send them an email of 2 things that they hadn't done that were the next most important things based on the ranking above. So everyone was essentially getting an email personalized to them about the 2 things or the 4 things or whatever that they didn't do in that 6-minute window, and based on ranking. So arguably you may or may not have to rank them in that scenario, but we found it really useful to rank people and actually check their next best action approach. We saw what they did do and sent them an email about what they didn't do, and that became the onboarding campaign. So I would say action paths. There's probably a world of cool things you could do with those.
So action path is something which you will recommend, right? To make sure that the journeys doesn't look like the linear and in a predictable manner. When there are also a set of marketers who are overutilizing or burning out Braze, right? Would love to understand on how we can leverage Braze in the best possible manner, because you have been in Braze from quite a long time. Many companies end up with one Braze person, right, who becomes overloaded, and the adoption stalls, right, where that, again, let's say there's only one person who manages everything in Braze for a brand. At Microsoft and MyDNA, you helped spread knowledge and across functions, right, whether it was marketing, operations, like you started spreading that expertise and knowledge to multiple team members. What's your method for making Braze knowledge scalable so you don't just end up with one overworked hero.
Yeah, I mean that's a very valid point. Like even in my time with Braze, I've been in a lot of teams of two, for instance. Like and you go to like a Braze event, like city by city, and half the people you talk to are like, I'm a team of two, I'm a team of one, I'm a team of three at best. Like yeah. So one of the things that I think is really important if you're trying, especially if you have people more junior than you that are using Braze and just really trying to encourage them, I guess, in the value of the tool, is but it's a little broader than probably your question, is actually putting, say, hour a week in the calendar that's non-negotiable to sit with that person and you both go through Braze and learn something new, teach yourself something new. Like how is someone meant to know that an action path exists if they've never used an action path? So it's passing that knowledge on. I'm very much a big believer in you kind of lift people up as you rise. So, and there's sort of an argument that I don't have an hour a week, but if you don't allocate that hour a week to train someone, you're not going to have an hour a week because you're going to be so darn busy. You're not going to be able to do these things yourself. We also found a lot of value so take that outside of the marketing, we found a lot of value in doing, say, a lunch and learn with some of our engineers with Braze, just to but more to sell them the value of, if you can help us set this up right in the beginning, then you won't really have to touch this much in the end, and we can look after Braze. That's kind of one of Braze's strengths, is that it reduces the engineering load. So taking that time to actually do something and show the engineers how it works, not only is it interesting to them because they don't really see the marketing world very much, probably when they're deep down in the trenches, but it also lets them know that you're willing to take the time to hear their questions out and, find out what their concerns are and sort of talk that back and forth. Because it's fine for us as marketers to go, we're going to buy Braze and bring it in here, and you guys are going to install it. Like, if you take those people on that journey, even before you've got the product, you'll find that whole process is easier. So I think it's about taking the time out to go and talk to your team members about it, go and talk to the engineering team about it, train people up in it. Like it's really a sacrifice on your part, but it'll pay itself off tenfold down the road.
No, that's a good way, right? Lunch and learn, and the other way, or the tactics which you need to make sure that you spend time with the engineering team, you spend time with the other people and from the other functions to make sure that they start getting the knowledge around Braze. And as and when required, you can leverage them, right? Be it engineering or any other department. One thing would also love you to share insights around on how to embed Braze into the culture, not just into the tech stack, right? Installing Braze, setting it up, onboarding it, Braze is one thing. Embedding it to teams, right, which actually delivers results, right, and it works amazingly for all the marketing ops function. At Microsoft, you influenced how others adopted the tool, right? And would love to know how you did that. But the question I would love to understand, and would also have the marketers, is what steps did you take to make Braze part of the team culture, right? And what advice you give to others trying the same in their organization?
Yeah, Microsoft's actually a really interesting example because Braze to them is a third-party tool. So Microsoft has teams that are using Braze, but it's not sort of their main tool because they have some CRM tooling themselves that they've built. So that's a really interesting one. Coming in with Braze there, part of your job is almost encouraging that wider culture around Braze, so that justifying is not the right word, but just to show why it's got value within that broader system as a third-party tool because they're paying for it. But one of the good ways to do that is we actually did lifecycle marketing, which we could do with Braze. We could constantly be talking to our users one-to-one, whereas especially in a lot of the bigger organizations, their tools are set up so that you kind of talk to a lot of people at once and then you may not talk to them again for a month. And then you talk to a lot of people at once and then you don't talk to them again. So we actually kind of had this, we'll call it luck, where we were constantly talking to our users, and we had other teams coming across to us going, hey, we noticed you're talking to your users one-on-one a bit. How are you doing that? So we kind of, by sending out good regular messaging, we kind of attracted the attention of a few other teams. So that was kind of how we got that through, is just doing good work. Now, if you've just installed Braze in your team and you're trying to make it part of the culture, I think one thing to do is actually not do too much too soon. Sometimes you see people go in, they want to send a message to every single channel. It all becomes a mess. Suddenly engineering team needs to come in, or something's broken, or your messaging's just disconnected. and then you can't convince people that there's a value there. Whereas if you take it a step at a time, come in, just start with email or just start with in-app message, show the value that that's bringing, and then come in and add email or add content cards on top of that and show the added value. So you're sort of showing that value stacking. I think it's a really good way to encourage a culture where people are like, oh, we love this tool. This is great. Oh, we're seeing the results of this. Oh, we're seeing how much load this is taking off. Oh, we haven't typed any code for the marketing team for, 2 years. Just like, it's kind of that approach. I think it's that steady value stacking is what makes people in the company excited about the tool, because it's helping their workload, not just yours. So
Yep. No, yeah, that's really great. And one thing which we as a marketers and as a Braze expert should always think about is how to make sure that the other people try to identify the benefit of Braze, right? Because it is going to make their life easier, right? Be it engineering or the other pure marketing people, right? Which are working with us. We just need to make them aware about the usability, what it can do, and how it can benefit. When we are talking about leveraging Braze, right? One thing which I would love to also understand is there is a pressure, right? I'm not sure if you have felt it or not, but to be ultra safe, right, and data driven in every decision, because marketers are always judged, right? But sometimes that kills the emotional connect, right? If you don't go back by data. You have talked about tension being creative and being optimized. What's your take on how to use Braze in a way that still leaves room for instinct, emotion, and even risk, right? Outside data driven, obviously, we want to be data driven and backed by data, but we also want to be emotional and want to connect with instinct and also take some risk to learn new things about the audience behavior.
yeah, I love this topic because I feel like there is a bit of a gut instinct that should be allowed to go into marketing, because I'm very pro data, don't get me wrong, but there's a point where like data, you can only see so much, and people are humans. They've got emotions and lives or whatever outside of wherever we see the clicks coming in. So I think it's okay to trust your gut sometimes, but maybe a good way to look at it is like maybe trust your gut 20% of the time and see how those campaigns do compared to your 80% data-driven campaigns. Maybe that's a good way to see how good your gut is. Just compare the data, compare that data. But as an example of kind of because a trust your gut campaign that I've kind of run. So this is also a Clipchamp. So when you're exporting a video, so if you're in the Clipchamp app and you're exporting a video, for anyone who's exported a video, there's kind of this window of time there where you're just waiting for the video to process, and maybe it's 4 minutes and you're just kind of sitting there and you've got nothing to do. Well, my brain said, I had no information to justify this, but my brain said, well, if I'm sitting there for 4 minutes, I'm probably going to leave and go look something else up while that 4 minutes is happening. I was like, okay, what if we could keep people in the app during that 4-minute window? And even though we didn't have any data to back it, it just seemed like probably the thing to do, because we were all talking and going, yeah, I'd probably leave the app. I've got 4 minutes on my hand. I'd just go and I'd make a sandwich. So we created a campaign called the While You Wait campaign, and it was about while people are waiting, giving them something to do. And so we actually embedded a YouTube video in an iframe inside an in-app message. And so when the exporting started, the video came up, it would give you a Clipchamp tutorial video about something that you may not know. And you could actually just watch it in the in-app message while it's exporting in the background. So people are still on your site, they're watching a YouTube video about something to do with Clipchamp, their export finishes, and then hopefully they've gone, oh, hold on, I've just learned something new, and they go back into your video editor again and start trying this new thing they learned from YouTube. And we actually had a really good response for that. One of the big responses that came out of that was not just people who were staying longer in the export window and watching the video, they started subscribing to the YouTube channel. And actually, we saw a significant bump in our YouTube subscriptions over that time. So that was all gut instinct. But when we talked around, it made sense to everybody because we probably would have done the same thing. So I don't think you should discredit it. Like, I think sometimes it'll pay off. And that was fun. Like, we enjoyed doing that. So that was one of those opportunities for a bit of play in sort of the day and just to see how your gut goes. So don't discredit play as well. So
no, that's really great example you shared about taking decisions based on emotion, right? Obviously, you need to review the data, and you rightly mentioned that 4-minute window where majority of the users would pop out of the app, right? They won't be leveraging it when the export is working, but they are sharing a video to make sure that the users are engaged, connected. Still, the export is working, and definitely the result which you mentioned is about increasing the the subscription on the YouTube, right? Which is about
And some people find if like an export takes too long, they get frustrated. So there's
yeah.
also this element of trying to reduce frustration for a handful of users. So it just happened to be the perfect storm, I guess.
No, definitely. So, one thing which we should also discuss about is connecting with the developers, the engineering team, right? Marketers often get slowed down in Braze because they can't communicate effectively to with their dev teams, right? When they are syncing Braze with, let's say, Snowflake, right, or some other platforms, right? Uh, you are both a front-end developer and also a marketer, right, who has managed campaign. What's your advice for marketers who want to work better with the technical and engineering team when building or troubleshooting campaigns in Braze, or it is about integrating Braze with some third-party platform, as I mentioned about, let's say, data warehouse like Snowflake, and how to get the best out of it?
I mean, yeah, my first answer is like everyone should go learn to code. Well, that's not going to happen. Like, no, I think we've hit this interesting point in time where like we've got this term MarTech now. That probably didn't even exist very much 10, 15 years ago. Like where marketing technology has become so technological now that it's no longer just marketing; it is literally tech as well. So I think there's a point where as marketers, we need to do a little bit of upskilling just in technology, whatever that is. Like if you don't know anything about computers, just, I don't know, go look at just read the history of computers, watch a documentary, just do something once a week to kind of get yourself in that mindset of like what engineers might be thinking about. I think there's also a place now for that sort of unicorn marketer who knows a little bit of code and knows a little bit of marketing. I think that's a bit of a unicorn position to put yourself in. But that person can actually translate information between teams. So I feel like that's going to become a role that becomes more and more common in marketing teams. They'll just have this person that almost translates between engineering and marketing the whole time because they could speak both languages, so to speak. But I think the other thing too is just taking time to sit down with the engineers and understand what their concerns are. Like sometimes we get so wrapped up in running campaigns or wanting them to build something, we don't go, so why can't you do that this sprint? And can you just explain that to me? Like what's sort of the bigger issue here, and try and understand what they're actually trying to do? Because just like you, they have a lot on their plate. So if you're having trouble sort of getting collaboration with the engineers, I think sometimes it's about making time to actually hear their concerns and hear that out properly. So I think that's another big part of it. But yeah, definitely understanding technology better. I know I sort of said it near the start. I think it's going to help you into the future because this is just going to become more technical the further we go with marketing now. I think we've kind of hit that peak where we're about to go over into a very tech kind of marketing moving forward.
Yep. So yeah, your advice is the marketers should leverage and get more technical information and knowledge as much as possible in order to communicate and explain their problem statement with the engineering team. One thing we missed out, and then I'm able to recall it now, when we were talking about inbox placement, right? Where that inboxes are overcrowded, making sure that your emails are landing into at least in the inbox, and then obviously the end goal is to have email land into the primary inbox. Marketers often fall back on the line, check your spam folder, right? I'm sure you would have seen it multiple times. But but you have said that doesn't solve the real problem, right? And from your experience, what are the real reasons campaigns end up in junk or spam folders, and what steps you have taken in your Braze setup to fix delivery for a longer term? Because I'm sure there would be marketers who would be listening to this, would be facing issues of delivery or emails not landing into their inbox. What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so I've always kind of had in the back of my mind that I don't think people sunset or remove users from lists hard enough. I really feel like we need to be harder on that. But not to sell people on another podcast besides this one, but there's a podcast called The Humans of MarTech. It's a great podcast if anyone's looking for the MarTech side of things. But they actually summed up that thinking really well. They said the emails you don't send are just as important as the emails you do send these days. And I was like, it's a great way to look at it. Like, I think we need to be really hard in our segmentation and not kind of go, I want to just put the extra, 2,000 people in there. Because if it's those 2,000 people that get you stuck in the promotions tab or get you in the spam box, you should have left them out and just got your engaged users the best email you could in the best placement you could. So I really think sunsetting policies, being really tight about sending to small engaged groups. Braze often talks about these days where we're moving to this era of not about speaking one to many, we're speaking one to one. So personalization is becoming more and more important. But I would say like look at your segmentation is probably my first one. And even if you already have some, you can probably have more. Like I feel like we really need to start niching down on people and working out kind of when they do want to hear from us, what they want to hear about. Like I think we've hit that point for sure. But a lot of companies, you'll go in there and they really don't have anything. They might not even have a sunsetting policy. They're still sending to people whose emails are like, 12 months, 2 years old, and you don't even know if they exist or they've moved on from that company anymore. So I just get in there and just do a cull or make it like a really engaged group and send to them for a little while as an experiment. Maybe you could send to both and see which group is actually getting better open rates and better responses, because it's better to have 1,000 true fans than have, 100,000 spammed emails. So yeah. So I reckon the emails you don't send are way more important than the emails you do these days.
No, that's a good point. The quality over quantity is the game, right? You need to make sure that
100%.
lesser the subscriber, better it is, right? So
Yeah.
that's something.
I know sometimes there's a reason you have to say check your spam inbox, but I don't know, sometimes I'm going to offend people. It feels like a bit of a cop-out sometimes. It feels like I just didn't do my job properly.
Great. So one last question from mine, and I would love to take your insight on this, is around the AI, which has already been part of the design, the development, right? And now slowly and gradually coming into the lifecycle marketing, right? And when we are talking about Braze, to be particular, right? Braze has introduced AI into dev, right? Which is the AI assistant, right? Has introduced AI in terms of send time, right? Where you can send campaigns to a particular time, right? Based on the previous opens, right? And also towards the reporting, right? Where they have leveraged AI. So slowly and gradually, we are seeing that platforms like Braze, right, are trying to encourage the usage of AI into certain aspect of the lifecycle marketing. What's your take on it, and how do you see this AI going to shape up, right, in future, specifically for Braze, in terms of building up a campaign, building up a canvas, right, building up segments, right, through AI? Is that the future you envision, or you see that is still quite far? Would love to take your insights on this.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Like, I do think AI is here for a while. Like, I think it's here for the long term. I don't know whether we're going to plateau soon. Is kind of my take on that, because the internet only has so much data. We've got to hit a peak at some point. So, but I think the good thing about AI is it's going to increase the efficiency at which people can do things. It's going to reduce the need to kind of trawl data all the time, because the AI can kind of do that job of trawling the data and trying to make judgments. AI will probably fail pretty bad at gut feeling. So when we talked about gut feeling before, I'm not sure it's kind of got that human, oh, here's a possible gut feeling. So it might miss on that. I mean, I'm happy to debate that. I think though where I do struggle a little bit though with it is like we have all these AI offerings for, say, Braze, or there's heaps of MarTech tools now putting AI in. But if you haven't used it a lot, it takes a while for the AI to learn your patterns, especially with time, selection, channel, those sorts of things. It can only work off what it knows so far. And essentially it can make judgments based on other people's campaigns, maybe, but that's not your campaign. It doesn't know your users. So there's definitely a window there where you can't expect magic, straight away. And some people I talked to recently at a City by City were saying that they didn't see kind of magic for maybe 100 days, like, when they were using it, because they didn't have a big cohort. It's not like you're jamming Microsoft through there, which is like, millions of users. If you've only got like, I don't know, 20,000 users on your platform and they're running through the AI, it takes it a while to learn. So I think there's like pros and cons to AI. It's good because it's efficient, but I think we think it's sort of a magic bullet that's going to fix everything. And I don't think that's the case. I do, though, think that marketers need to learn how to use AI, because you'll get left behind if you don't. I actually think that's, I actually don't think it's going to replace our jobs. I think it's going to replace the jobs who refuse to use it. That's kind of where I think that's going to come in. So
The summary is marketers needs to learn AI at any cost, right? They can't shy away from the fact that AI is coming, right? And they also
it doesn't mean it's going to replace you. It just means
Yeah.
you just need to understand why and what it's doing. So
The AI is going to make their life easier, right? If they try to use it in a right way.
100%.
Yeah. So they should not be.
I use it to do, I mean, people call them dumb tasks. You know, the things you're just doing on repetition
Yeah.
that you really just don't want to do every day. That's where I find AI is very useful. Like,
Perfect. So yeah, thanks David for sparing time and walking us through all the parts of Braze, right? Starting from leveraging Braze in terms of personalization, right? Obviously the liquid scripting, which is obviously challenging for many of the marketers, to taking us through how to connect Braze lifecycle journeys with the product usage or website usage, and also giving us a walkthrough on how marketers can connect with the engineering team, right? And speak in a way where they are able to understand the problem statement. Obviously, marketers needs to learn the technical stuff, right? They can't move away from it. And lastly, your take on AI, on how we can leverage AI as a marketers and try to use it as much as possible. So thanks for sharing those insights, and I'm sure the marketers would be able to learn a lot and implement into their day-to-day Braze actions and the lifecycle marketing journeys.
yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. And honestly, if people want to reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime, I'm happy to keep the conversation rolling, as with you guys. So thank you for
Oh
having me
yeah,
on. I appreciate it.
that's really great of David. So yeah, just to add up on, if anyone who is listening, there's feel free to connect with David on LinkedIn, right? And obviously go through his YouTube videos. So you will obviously get to learn a lot about Braze. Thanks, David, for the time. It was really great connecting and chatting with you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really just don't want to do every day. That's where I find AI is very useful. Like,
Perfect. So yeah, thanks David for sparing time and walking us through all the parts of Braze, right? Starting from leveraging Braze in terms of personalization, right? Obviously the liquid scripting, which is obviously challenging for many of the marketers, to taking us through how to connect Braze lifecycle journeys with the product usage or website usage, and also giving us a walkthrough on how marketers can connect with the engineering team, right? And speak in a way where they are able to understand the problem statement. Obviously, marketers needs to learn the technical stuff, right? They can't move away from it. And lastly, your take on AI, on how we can leverage AI as a marketers and try to use it as much as possible. So thanks for sharing those insights, and I'm sure the marketers would be able to learn a lot and implement into their day-to-day Braze actions and the lifecycle marketing journeys.
yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. And honestly, if people want to reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime, I'm happy to keep the conversation rolling, as with you guys. So thank you for
Oh
having me
yeah,
on. I appreciate it.
that's really great of David. So yeah, just to add up on, if anyone who is listening, there's feel free to connect with David on LinkedIn, right? And obviously go through his YouTube videos. So you will obviously get to learn a lot about Braze. Thanks, David, for the time. It was really great connecting and chatting with you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.